Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. I should have gotten Mary to come up with a better slogan for integrating your e-commerce, but here we are. My name is Franco Conradi, and I'll be taking you through our first technical session of the day. So I'll just take you through a quick agenda. So we'll start off with just introduction. I'll do a quick review of a few e-commerce platforms and the e-commerce landscape. I'll touch up on our B1AF automation platform that we use with our SAP automation and integration. Just talk a few differences between SAP and e-commerce, and then I'll talk about the actual e-com integration before just wrapping up. Now, just a quick introduction. My name is Franco Conradi. I've been with Aclaros for about 5 years now as an integration specialist. In the role, my job is to design, develop, and implement e-commerce integration solutions that feature SAP Business One using our integration framework. I'm also the lead developer and the project manager for the Shopify package solution, so that's why I'm here. Now, first up, just a quick review of e-commerce. We all know what e-commerce is, but I just want to go over a few different types, just for those that aren't aware. And I'll use the analogy of Apple selling Apple products. So in the first case, business to business, that is where Apple might sell their products to Best Buy either on consignment or for internal use. So business selling products to another business. If Best Buy were to take those Apple products and they sell them to a consumer, that would be business to consumer, selling directly to consumers, actually selling to consumers. Where direct to consumers would be if Apple were to sell their own products to consumers directly. There are a few others, but we'll focus on those three for today. The others would be the resale market, so consumer to consumer, or influencers selling their platform to companies as a form of advertising as well. But again, we'll focus on B2B, B2C, and then D2C as well. So just a quick look at the actual e-com landscape. So the graph above shows a breakdown of the top 1 million sites by worldwide traffic. And we use worldwide traffic because using the gross number of stores will skew the number to some of the smaller e-commerce platforms. So top of the list, so the analogy that I want to use here is there are many more lakes in the world, but that does not mean that they hold more water than the oceans. So top of the list, we have WooCommerce Checkouts, which is a plugin to the content management system WordPress. WordPress powers about 40% of the global internet, or 40% of the websites on the internet, so it makes sense that their e-commerce plugin takes up a big share of that. Then we have Shopify, the new darling of the TSX. They've grown quite rapidly over the last couple of years, and especially on the business to consumer side, they do have a very, very large platform, both in Canada and worldwide. Interestingly, however, they may only be second place behind WooCommerce in terms of the global traffic. But if you look at gross merchandise volume, so the actual dollar amount of merchandise sold through either of these platforms, Shopify is second behind Amazon. Amazon just being the largest e-commerce platform or marketplace in the world. Then lastly, we have Magento. So Magento, although lower down on the list, Magento powers some of the largest stores out of either of these three platforms. If you look at which actual web stores are powered by these platforms, Magento is used to power websites like Land Rover, Jaguar, or Bjorn Borg. Shopify is used to power Allbirds or Red Bull, and WooCommerce is used to power NutriBlend, or my personal favorite, the merchandising website for the Springboks, the South African national rugby team. # world champions. All three platforms do have their advantages and disadvantages, so we'll just go over a few of them. Now, with Shopify, it is designed for e-commerce specifically. It is designed for B2C specifically originally as well. There's a very robust and growing app store. It's easy to use and easy to set up, and your hosting and SSL is already included in your subscription. With Magento, as I said, it powers some of the largest sites on this list or in the world. Great business-to-business capability. It is highly scalable, highly flexible. There's a lot of development talent, and the core functionality of Magento is very, very robust. And then with WooCommerce, WooCommerce itself is not a e-commerce. It is a plugin to WordPress, which is a content management system. But it does mean that a lot of companies already have their website. They can just plug this in. It is also very customizable. There's a very robust community around them. And WordPress itself is free and open source. There's just a few other additions with your hosting and your plugin. Now, a few disadvantages. Shopify, because it is built for business to consumer specifically, it does lack some of the flexibility that you might get with Magento, limited customization outside of your core features, and the fee structure can rise depending on your volume of business. With Magento, there is a bit of a higher cost of ownership. Your third-party development requires a little bit more development just because your site might be more custom compared to what the apps were intended for. It is quite reliant on developer skills, and you do have to go through a few software update cycles because the platform itself will change over time. Same with WooCommerce, also reliant on developer skills. You'll also get a few software update cycles, and plugin conflicts are possible just because not all plugins have been tested with all plugins in mind. Now, aside from using an actual e-commerce, the alternative is then also to use secondary marketplace. Now, in terms of the Canadian e-commerce landscape, the largest single marketplace provider in the world and in the US and Canada is Amazon. That comes to the surprise of no one. There are a few others, so Walmart, Canadian Tire, Best Buy are also available. Some of them in specific retail sectors, some of them a little more general, but Amazon by far has the largest market share and the best penetration in the market. There are a number of benefits from using a marketplace to sell your products, and I'll just list a few of them. So that will include built-in traffic. You don't need to generate traffic to your site. Traffic is already generated to Amazon itself. It's easy to set up. You don't need to build your own web store. You just need to plug into what is already there. There's already a lot of trust and credibility in Amazon itself, so that's not something you need to handle. Same with payment processing. You don't need to worry about that. That is all done through Amazon. Same then with scalability and analytics, standard out of the box with your Amazon. And then you can also get some logistics support. So think of Fulfilled by Amazon. They can be your fulfillment provider as well. So a lot of our customers, they don't use just the marketplace as their only provider. They'll often use a marketplace as a secondary way to sell their product. So then you get into what is considered multi-channel solution e-commerce. So this is also where having a multi-channel solution comes into play. So this refers to selling products on multiple platforms that are then consolidated to a single platform. Again, there are quite a few benefits to this, specifically helping to standardize and centralize your inventory management so that you don't have to manage inventory on two separate systems. You just need to manage inventory on a single system, so that will then communicate to the however many systems you need to set up to. You can keep your branding consistent. Your analytics and reporting can be centralized. There is unified order processing. Your marketing initiatives can be standardized across the board. And your fulfillment solutions can plug into this one central system instead of needing to link up multiple e-commerce platforms with multiple 3PL integrations. The best benefit of a multi-channel solution is that you just rely on one integration to SAP. You don't have to set up multiple integrations, one to Shopify, one to Amazon, one to Best Buy. You can just set up a single integration to your multi-channel platform, and the rest will come from that. So there are a few options, but these are the two that we've worked with in the past. Both platforms, so Rhythm and Shopify Marketplace Connect, both platforms allows you to connect to multiple marketplaces. You can manage and sync all of your order listings, your inventory. Changes made to products and orders on one of these should sync through to your actual web store as well. With Shopify Marketplace Connect, you can connect to Amazon, Walmart in the United States, and then as well as eBay, Etsy, and so on. Marketplace Connect was actually formerly known as Fedisto, but Amazon saw the potential in the marketplace and they decided to just bring that in-house. With Rhythm, multi-channel solution, that is what they do. So they have over 450 different marketplaces that they can connect to. It is quite a robust system. They do offer a lot of analytics and reporting on the side as well. So it is a very good option that we have used in the past. Okay, so we talked about a bit of e-commerce. So I just want to run through a little bit the integration platform that we use to integrate to SAP. You saw the slide a little bit earlier, so I won't go into too much detail. But this is just the Business One landscape, or the Business One core. So we have our 15 modules that make up SAP Business One, but SAP knows that extending and integrating to SAP is a large portion of why people want to use Business One. So that is why SAP built an integration framework to do just that. So we call it the SAP Business One Integration Framework, the SAP Integration Framework. And there are quite a few benefits to it. Mainly because it was built by SAP, we already have the connection to SAP pre-built and set up for us. So we can just concentrate on your actual business logic or the actual integration that we need to do instead of needing to lay the groundwork and to connect to SAP in the first place. So just some background. So the integration framework itself was originally built to integrate SAP ECC to SAP Business One because they knew a lot of holding companies might have subsidiaries that run on Business One that they also would like to integrate to SAP. So that's where it started. But over the years, SAP have expanded the product, and it now allows us to basically connect to anything that has connectivity available to it. Some of the benefits is it is adaptable, so we can easily modify and change our scripts or the field mappings to however your business needs change. It is version agnostic, so if you need to upgrade your SAP or you upgrade your servers, we don't need to worry about whether our integration would be compatible with SAP because we know that the integration framework is compatible with SAP. This might sound small, but we've had a few customers that had to put off on upgrades either for servers or their SAP just because the integration or the automation that they have decided to go with is no longer being maintained and it can no longer function on higher versions or newer versions of SAP. And then finally, it is scalable. So if as your organization grows, the integration will grow with it. We can easily ramp up secondary integrations to pre-existing platforms. So if you have a second Shopify that you want to run up, we should be able to just quickly run up the integration as well, as long as the business logic stays fairly similar. So just a few differences. So SAP and e-commerce, they do complement each other in quite a number of ways. So just wanted to touch on this. So the purpose of SAP and the purpose of e-commerce is a little bit different, where SAP is mostly used for managing internal functions of your organization, finance, inventory management, reporting, HR, and operations, where e-commerce focuses on facilitating the online sales process, enabling businesses to sell products and services directly to customers via digital services or digital storefronts. SAP offers features like inventory management, order processing, financial reporting. E-commerce offers you product listings, store checkout, customer engagement, and website management. SAP is typically used by internal teams. It can be customized to fit your business needs, and it is typically used in an organizational-wide platform or system where e-commerce is usually just touches on a few portions of the business and is typically used either by customers, sales staff, or marketing teams. With that said, there are a few different types of data sync that we do enable or that typically comes with an e-commerce integration, just to help manage and help merge the two systems so that even though they aren't the same system, doesn't mean that they can't function as one. Now with e-commerce integration, with these data syncs, you often have orders, customers, inventory and payments, shipping, products and inventory, and then pricing tiers that are being synced to SAP, so all vice versa. Now, you don't need to do all of these. Usually, order processing is why we want to do e-commerce. Without that, there's almost no point in doing any e-commerce integration. Whatever is not done via an integration can be done manually. Just need to be consistent with your linkage between your SAP and your e-commerce platform. So what I mean by that is I will take an example of master data or product master data specifically. With in SAP, creating a basic item code description, barcode, manufacturer is more than enough to get you going and have users use that product in SAP. But that is not a very pleasant user experience for a customer that wants to buy something from your website. So with that, whether you have an integration running from SAP to Shopify, or if your content on your e-commerce is managed manually, your e-commerce platform will allow for a lot more customization and a lot more rich additions to the content that will make the shopping experience a lot better for your customers. So just something to remember. Okay, so we talked about just e-commerce in general, our integration framework. We've talked about what types of data can be synced and the differences between SAP and Shopify or e-commerce. So we'll just touch briefly on the SAP e-commerce that we've built over the last number of years and how we do that and some of the key points of that integration. Going forward, I'm going to show a few of the processes that we've done with our Shopify package solution. This isn't exclusively just related to the package solution or Shopify in general. We found that this is what most of our customers have implemented over the last number of years. We found that around 70 to 80% of our customers run Shopify, or at least a portion of their business on Shopify. And then the other 20 to 30% make up either WooCommerce, Magento, or a few others as well. To start off with, similar to the 6 types of master data sync, we do offer 6 types of data sync. We do offer a few of those, all of those as options in our integration. So with master data, we have item and customer master data integration. Item integration is usually from SAP to Shopify, so you'll create your skeleton product in SAP, and that information will sync through to Shopify, just so that you know that there is a consistent link that can be used going forward. So your link is already established, and that will make the subsequent reporting steps, inventory and pricing, a lot easier to manage. With customer integration, so there are a few options there. Sometimes you'll just allow your customers to log on to your store, create a profile on your store, and then we can sync that information to SAP as well after they've placed an order. The alternative is we just use a generic business partner in SAP, and we just create all of your orders against generic business partner, so that if you don't feel like having the customer information in SAP is beneficial to you. What we do then is we will take that customer information and the address information, and we'll just populate that onto the order so that you still have some customer information on a per order basis. It just won't be linked to actual customers. And that is usually used in a business to consumer, B2C space, but not limited to it. The other side of the coin with business to business, what we often do is we'll allow you to create customers in SAP, and we push that information through to Shopify, basically creating a profile for you. But your customers can then go with their profile onto your web store, process their orders, and we'll sync that information back to SAP, back to the customer that was already pre-populated for you. So we do have a few options there. In terms of reporting, so regardless if you have item master data integration running, we can do inventory availability or inventory reporting between SAP and Shopify. We just need to have a consistent link, and usually that link is using SAP item code that matches to a Shopify SKU as well. If we have that, we should be able to update inventory. Then on the transactional side, sales orders, fulfillment, and payments, we usually do Shopify orders and payments from Shopify will push through to SAP. And the only exception to the transactions is we can do fulfillments or deliveries, we can do in either direction. So if you have a 3PL that links up to your Shopify or to your e-com platform, and they mark orders as fulfilled on Shopify, we can pull that information into SAP as well. However, if you do fulfillment in-house and you create delivery documents or invoices in SAP, we can then push that fulfillment information through to Shopify instead. So it depends on your business case. With sales orders, so this is where we've probably spent the most amount of our development, just coming up with new options and new ways how we can import orders to SAP, just because we know that businesses do have different ways that they want to operate. There's a few customization and configuration options here. Do you want to create business partners? Do you not want to create business partners? What are your taxation rules? Do you want address information to be mapped, or do you want, or you don't? So there are a few options here. Depends on your business case, and we'll go over a few of these in the next couple of slides. So with our transactional data flow, we do have a few options. The first of which is an invoice-based flow. So all of our flows start with a sales order, which might be a little bit different from some of our previous integrations. Over the last year or two, we've made the decision to standardize our packages, and with that, just to make the development and the deployment a lot easier. So with that, all of our new packages will always start with a sales order. So the next phase will depend on your configuration both in SAP and in Shopify. If orders are already paid and processed and fulfilled on Shopify before you want the payment and the order information to be updated in SAP, then we just bring in the invoice into SAP because the fulfillment and the payment is already processed. You don't need to worry about that. If the order is marked as paid on Shopify, we'll also bring all of those payments, and we'll also link that to the invoice, closing out your sales process. So if everything works correctly, it should be completely hands-off. The difference here is if you fulfill in-house or you have a different fulfillment mechanism, then we can go from sales order to reserve invoice. That will allow us to bring payments into SAP, linked to the reserve invoice. But a reserve invoice will allow you to manage your pick and pack and your fulfillment in-house. So you can create delivery documents whenever your fulfillment process has been completed. This invoice-based flow is usually used in a business-to-consumer perspective because changes aren't routinely made to consumer orders, but it's not exclusively just used for business-to-consumer. Now, on the other side, with a business-to-business flow, we do allow you to make some subtle changes to orders after they've came to SAP, because instead of an invoice that can't be changed, we bring payments in as a sales order or as a down payment invoice. This will allow you to make a few subtle changes to orders before fulfillment takes place, either changing items, changing quantities, updating fulfillment freight charges before shipping out to customers. Any of the changes that you make, we don't push through to Shopify. So if there are any changes that have financial implications, then that needs to be handled separately as well. But this is just one of the other options. At the same time, or the same as with the business-to-business flow or the invoice-based flow, you can then create your delivery in-house. This either through delivery or you can just go straight to invoice, and you can link your payments to the invoice documents. So just a quick word on our invoice-based, also inventory syncs scenarios, just because we know this is also quite an important one for a lot of customers, because you want to reflect your true inventory on Shopify or on your e-com in as close to real time as possible. Now, there are a number of reasons why you want this, and there are a number of documents in SAP and a number of transactions on your e-com web store that can impact inventory on both systems. E-com is usually not the only sales channel for you, so there are other transactions, other sales orders, other invoices that can impact your inventory in SAP. And the same on Shopify. If you process a credit in Shopify, you don't necessarily want that inventory to be back in stock immediately or back to sell immediately. So you want to make sure that your inventory between the two systems are reflected at real time. Just a quick note, what we usually refer to as available inventory with an e-commerce integration is a little bit different from the standard SAP definition. So our definition is in stock minus committed is your available inventory, where in SAP, they'll also add, or they'll use in stock minus committed plus on order is your available inventory. We decide with our e-commerce integration to omit the on order just because we don't have a real timeline of when those orders will be fulfilled. So you might not necessarily want to make that available to customers. But we have made some changes, and we can also add imminently deliverable stock to that equation as well. So if you have a purchase order that should be delivered within the next couple of days, we can make that inventory available as well. Now, how the inventory sync works is we take a snapshot of your inventory in SAP around every 5 minutes, or not every 5 minutes. So with that snapshot, we'll take what is in SAP and we'll load the snapshot into another table in SAP so that we have a reference point that we can compare to whenever we run this report. So we'll run the report in 5 minutes time. We'll compare the snapshot of inventory 5 minutes ago with what the inventory is right now, and we'll identify any variants of items that are no longer in sync. We'll package that information up and we'll communicate that inventory change both to Shopify, and then we'll update the table in SAP, bringing our snapshot table back up to date again. And then in 5 minutes time, after new documents have been posted, your inventory sync will run again, and the same process will follow. So in this way, inventory in your e-com platform should be up to date within about 5 minutes or so. Now, lastly, as I mentioned before, Shopify has historically been known as a business-to-consumer platform, but they've done a lot of work over the last number of years to expand their business-to-business offerings as well. And we've been doing the same with our integrations. So this is just a quick snapshot of the business-to-business or the customer integration or the customer side of how SAP and Shopify relates to each other. So we have our products and our product variants on Shopify. That's pretty much the same. That hasn't really changed much. But what Shopify has now done is they've brought up catalogs. And catalogs align quite nicely with price lists in SAP. Catalogs will also allow you to set overall adjustments from your primary price list, so you don't need to manage each item individually. It can be managed by an overall adjustment similar to SAP. That doesn't mean that you can't have item-specific pricing. That is also available to you. The other nice thing about catalogs is you can also manage which items are available to which catalog. So if you have catalogs that are only going to be a subset of items, that can be managed on Shopify as well. Next, SAP Business Partner basically translates into a Shopify customer, and under SAP you can link addresses and customers to a business partner, where in Shopify you link locations and customers to Shopify as well. So SAP addresses basically becomes Shopify locations, SAP contacts becomes customers in Shopify. And that data sync is now available with our business-to-business e-com integration as well. On Shopify, you don't link a price list to a customer. Instead, you link a customer to a location, and that location is linked to a catalog. So that way, a single customer can have multiple locations, and each of those locations can have independent price lists and independent product offerings as well. So I know that's a lot, but just a quick snapshot. We're happy to talk to you about this afterwards as well. Okay, so I know that's a lot, so I'll just give a quick recap. So there are a number of platforms available to us, including Shopify, Magento, WooCommerce. There are also a few marketplaces available to us, including Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy. There are a few options that will allow you to manage your marketplaces in a single consolidated multi-channel solution. That multi-channel solution just requires a single integration to SAP, so making your actual integration a lot easier to manage. SAP and e-commerce complement each other. They're not the same, but that doesn't mean that you can't expand your e-commerce beyond what your SAP is doing right now. E-commerce integration includes orders, payments, fulfillments, products, business partners, and we're open to integrating or changing or adding integration however you want your business to run. There are multiple SAP sales processes that can be accommodated depending on the business needs. And finally, historically, B2C products like Shopify are expanding their business-to-business offerings to help you manage all of your e-commerce platforms just with a single platform. Thank you, everyone. Any questions? Here's Mike.
So if someone enters in a new product in SAP and that gets pushed down into Shopify, and then the formatting of the product description isn't the greatest, and then you go into Shopify, fix it up, make it look nice, if that product were to be updated, would that formatting be lost?
No, we don't touch the formatting after it's been updated on Shopify. So there are a few fields that we do update, but the formatting is not one of them.
Does it flow back to SAP or does it sit in Shopify?
No, the formatting will sit in Shopify and it will live there. We're not bringing that HTML formatting back into SAP, no.
So let's say if there is one business partner, it has a lot of locations. So when you attach the price list, you said that you could attach the price list to separate locations. But if the business partner is the one in SAP, is it possible, or we need to create a?
Yeah, we can set up a single link between SAP and the company and the locations with the integration. If you need to link up separate price lists on Shopify, that will be in the UI, in Shopify itself. So we'll create that initial link, but if you have separate prices that need to be assigned, or separate catalogs that need to be assigned to separate locations in a single business partner, that will be in Shopify itself. But it will get you started. Thanks, everyone.